Morning everyone. The sun is shining at last and no rain today, which is terrific, and I hope tomorrow is the same because actually we've got Kevin's mum's funeral in Kent, so it would be fantastic if the sun was shining when we came out and looked at the flowers and things. So I hope you're all doing okay in lockdown. It seems harder this time, but you know, there are positives and things, you know, there are opportunities amongst it all. And if you're really feeling a bit disconnected, give us a call or maybe come for a walk on Sunday, you know, where we just go off in pairs. It's a good way of just making contact if you're feeling a bit fed up. Anyway, I've got back into Nicky Gumbel's Bible study course, the Bible in 1 year. And for the last couple of days, he's been looking at Genesis 37 to 41 about the life of Joseph. And I don't know about you, but I really love that story because it's kind of a story of coming from a rejected place and then eventually going through a really tough time and then coming out the other end to become, you know, Prime Minister of the whole land. And it's kind of one of those, it could be made into a film, couldn't it? It's so good. So I was reading that this morning, and I'm just going to remind you a bit about the story. I don't know whether you remember it. Probably lots of you know it really well. It's you know, we come in, don't we, where Joseph's 17-year-old adolescence. I know it all. I'm cool, like adolescents do. And he's a favourite child of 12. His brothers are very jealous of him. And I think his brothers are very fed up with him, really, because he's always the favourite. And then he shares dreams about bales of corn bowing down to him. And he's very, you know, he has this superior air about him, which I think really wound the brothers up. And eventually they actually plot to kill him. So then he has to go and visit them for his father, and he finds them out in the desert, and they think, here's our chance, we can kill him. But Reuben, one of the elders, said, oh no, don't kill him. Whatever you do, don't kill him, just throw him in that pit. And I think Reuben's plan was to go back and get him later and take him back to his father. But while he was off dealing with the animals, a caravan of merchants turns up, Ishmaelites they are, turns up, and they sell him to them to become a slave for 20 pieces of silver. And eventually he then gets sold to Potiphar, who's one of Pharaoh's managers of the household. But it says here, even there, God was with him. So it's not like God had abandoned him. It's just, I think God was just taking him through a time of, what should we say, changing his heart, showing him things about himself. So God was still there, and things went very well in Potiphar's household, and his master really could see God at work in his life and really was very fond of him. But unfortunately, his wife also was very fond of Joseph and thought he was rather handsome, and kept trying it on with him all the time, pestering him day after day, saying, oh, Potiphar, you're so wonderful, you know, etc., etc. This certainly should be a film, shouldn't it? Anyway, what happened was she set up a plan so that she could seduce him, and he ran out of the house, leaving his coat in her hands, because he was so horrified, because he'd just given her no cause to feel like that. And so she called the usual thing, oh, I've been seduced, you know, and sadly, Potiphar throws him in jail because he's so disappointed, because he thought he was a fantastic guy and he believed his wife. But it keeps saying in these in a sentence after each of these situations, but God was still with him. And God was still with him when he went to jail, and he put him on good terms with the head jailer. And the head jailer said, oh, you know, why don't you just keep an eye on all the prisoners for me? That would be really helpful. It doesn't say how long he was there, it just says for a period of time. But anyway, he gets chatting to the cupbearer and the baker from the King of Egypt, who are in there. I'm not sure what they're in there for. And they both say that they've had dreams and they don't know who to ask to interpret it. And so he says, well, I can't interpret it, but God can. And interestingly, at this point, I just want to say that I don't know whether you remember last year, I talked a lot about dreams and the importance of writing your dreams down, because God does speak through dreams very clearly, and does in the Bible, and does today. And a few of us have been sort of having training and interpreting each other's dreams. And so if you've got a dream, if any of you have a dream that's really actually, you know, worrying you or getting to you, or you're just interested in what God might be saying, get in touch, because email it over or text it over or whatever, because it's all good practice, because we need to keep interpreting. Because also, you know, this is a great way of evangelism, because people always want to know what their dreams are saying. And so I think eventually we'd love to be in a position where we can offer that service to people in the community and say, you know, come and we'll interpret your dreams for you. Anyway, that was just a little sideline. Anyway, so he gave the dreams to, interpreted the dreams for the cupbearer and the baker, and they came true. One actually was accepted back into the household, and the other one sadly was died. And so when the cupbearer went back to the king, Joseph said, remember me and tell the king that I'm here. But unfortunately, he still had to wait a further 2 years. And I don't know about you, but I think, oh no, goodness sake, is this guy ever going to mention me? And but that's when we have to kind of trust in God, don't we? We have to trust that we've given everything to him. So I guess he's got it in hand, sort of thing. And so, and sure enough, eventually, 2 years later, the king has this dream, doesn't he, about the cows, the 7 thin cows and the 7 fat cows, and how and the cupbearer remembers Joseph in prison, and Joseph comes and interprets the dreams about there being 7 good years of food and plenty, and then there will be 7 years of famine. And then after that, Joseph goes on to advise that through the 7 good years would be the time to store all the food ready for the 7 years of famine, so that there's plenty of food. And the king is so impressed with this that he says, right, therefore I want to put you in charge of the whole of the country of Egypt to oversee this, so that we have enough food in the famine. And which is an amazing honour. And on top of that, he says, and here's a wife for you as well. He finds him a wife, and they have 2 children. And it does say, when they talk about him having 2 children, it mentions that the 2 children were a distraction from his family, and from his family that he missed. And I think that was it, really, that God had softened his heart for those years in prison, and he was no longer that adolescent who knew it all and was the best. He was now humble and actually really missed his family and was sad about it. And so having 2 children, a wife of his own, you know, was something for him, something that was part of him, because he didn't have his family anymore. Anyway, during the famine, Joseph's father suggests that the brothers go to Egypt to see if they can get some food, because they hear that Egypt have got lots of food still. And of course then the brothers all turn up, and Joseph is so moved about them turning up. I guess really he wants to hug them and say, oh, I'm so glad to see you. But he knows that he's got to go through a process, really, because they would be horrified anyway. So he kind of sets a little test for them so that they would bring back the younger brother, Benjamin. Anyway, the long and the short of it is that eventually they see who he is, and they bow down to him just as he had in that dream. But it was so many years on from there. And it got me thinking, actually, that when I first became a Christian, right back in, 84 it was I became a Christian. And at the beginning, I used to get together with this ladies group in the village where I was living, and they used to really encourage you to wait on God and have pictures and hear words. In fact, sometimes we had so many words that really I don't think they were from God. But anyway, I remember having this picture about being married to a vicar and living in this big house. And it was quite a vivid picture, and I thought surely not, because at the time I was going through a divorce, I had 2 young children, you know, I'd made a right mess of my life, I felt, and I was on my own, and you know, wasn't in a good place really, and yet I had that picture, and I remember writing it down and thinking, gosh, yeah, well, anyway, and just sort of putting it to one side. But you know, and then when then I met Kevin, and then we got married, and then he felt called into the church, and then we went and trained at college in Cambridge, and then we went to his first. We moved to Emmanuel Church in Northampton for his first curacy, well, his only curacy actually. And I remember being in the car and thinking as we passed it, that's where, in that area is where they used to hold the Greenbelt Festival, which was a festival for Christians, which had drama and music, and it was quite a cool festival, and I loved going every August bank holiday. And I went a few times with my sister as well. And but when I went with my sister, I was on my own, and I was thinking, gosh, you know, am I destined to be on my own? I feel so lonely, I'm very fed up. And as we passed this place where that festival was being held, because it was on the way to our new church, I remember thinking, isn't God amazing? He's turned my life from, you know, going nowhere really, and going through a divorce, and making a bit of a mess up really, and falling, and I wasn't on good terms with my parents at that time. And he changed my life and turned it round incredibly. And here I was, passing by, just about to go and move into a new home, a new large house, married to a vicar. And I thought, you know, you're amazing, God. You just have a plan for our lives, and you have it all in your hands. And I think probably maybe that is why this story is so significant for me, and I really so love it. But so I feel this morning, for me anyway, and I hope maybe some of it for some of you out there, that we really do need to trust God. Trust God that he's working his purposes out. And even in this lockdown, we need to trust God that he's working his purposes out. And I guess maybe letting him lead us through it, and saying, you know, I'm not enjoying this, Lord. I'm finding this really difficult. Show me what you're trying to teach me through this all. What shall I learn, Lord? How shall I change my heart so I can be closer to you and know you more? So yes, I think that's, and also one other thing, that his timing is absolutely perfect. He never misses anything. And his timing was perfect for Joseph, even though it seemed a long time and a time of waiting. And we're in that waiting time now. His timing is perfect, so he won't ever let us down. So trust in God this week. Thanks. Bye.